All right, we live. We're gonna wait a second for everybody to come on in. Come on in. Come on in. We got two in here so far. Just hopped on. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. How's everybody doing, man? We want to give you a preview of this Arizona game. It seems like it's been 5 years. It seems like we've been all the way lost in the sauce, man, with these games, man, because that bye week seems like it took forever. But man, we back in business and we want to talk about it. Come on in, come on in.
Let's talk
Come
about
on in. I hope everybody had a good day. Listen, we expecting something big today as far as a commitment. Um, we hope Mr. PV goes on and makes that commitment today. Later on, 5:30. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We want to talk about Arizona and talk about USC, what we can expect from USC Trojans, what we can expect from the Arizona Wildcats. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Uh, John, how's everything going?
everything is great. Got no complaints. Today is October 27th. My wife and I are celebrating our 16th year of marriage.
Oh my goodness.
And
Happy
so
anniversary. Tell the
thank
wife
you,
happy
thank you,
anniversary.
thank you. So that's always a blessing. And to
Hey,
be
tell her I appreciate you allowing you to come on this just for a brief second, man. This is her day.
yeah, no, for sure you're right about that. And definitely she was on board, and I think that's just another testament to just having a very strong, supportive spouse and supportive wife, and a supportive marriage. We are teammates.
Absolutely.
That's the best way to be, for sure.
Absolutely. For those who are coming on, let me know if you can hear me clearly. Let me know if you can hear John clearly as we begin this preview process. We want to go ahead. So, look, we're talking about Arizona, man. Arizona, USC is a 15-point favorite at Arizona. And listen, I don't want that number to be deceive, to deceive us because let's be real. Although they are struggling on defense, Arizona does have some offensive production that they've been displaying all year long. So we're
Yeah,
gonna talk about it, offense,
yeah,
and we're gonna talk about the defense. And man, the quarterback is no stranger to USC. JD Delore, guy out of Hawaii, but he used to be at Washington State, transferred over here as well to Arizona. And so now we got to face him again. And that guy, he moves around. He moves around quite a bit. Big Brian, what's going on, my man?
he's a
So we want
good
to talk
quarterback.
about it. And your initial thoughts, John, as to what we get ready to see
Yeah,
from Arizona.
I think that Arizona is a challenge. They're a challenge. So far, they've been competitive in every game.
Yeah,
In every game, they've been able to score points. I think their average is something around 36 points a game. That's that's not a Ricky Dink offense in Power Five. Like if you can put up 36 points per game, no matter how you do it, no matter what conference or what level of football you're playing at, that's very productive. It's hard to score 36 points in high school, let
yeah,
alone, you know what I'm saying, let alone
yeah,
overlay with the level of competition that we play here in the pack and all throughout the country. So I respect their offense greatly. They got some great weapons at wide receiver. One of their guys is a local guy. T Mac is his nickname, but McMillan, he's from Servite High School. He was a 4-star.
yeah.
USC highly recruited him last year. He's a true freshman, and he is balling. He's one of their top receivers, a great threat outside, and he can hit the home run at any given moment. So it's kind of one of those matchups that we could see a very similar style of downfield attack like we saw against Utah,
Yeah.
where they're using their tight ends really well. I want to say they have a tight end named Tanner McLaughlin. I think
Hmm.
he's very good. He has a similar skill set to Delore, not Delore. I'm sorry, to he lit us up last week. The tight end from Utah. What's his name again? Help me. I didn't try to forget his name because he gave us so many fits and nightmares. But what was his the tight end from last weekend or two
Uh,
weeks ago?
uh, Kincaid? Is it Kincaid?
Kincaid. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kincaid. I'm honestly trying to forget his name. True.
yeah,
But Arizona has a tight end with a similar skill set. So
yeah,
it's going to pose some challenges for us downfield. Our defensive backs are going to have to really play a very skilled game and match these dudes because their quarterback is evasive. You know, Jaden Delora is a very elusive type runner.
Very elusive.
Very, very slippery. He can get out of some tricky situations. He has just the right amount of arm talent to really attack us. And honestly, if this dude makes it a him versus USC type of game, we could be in for a little bit of a troublesome.
Man, it's so crazy that you said that because, you know, I'm listening to a lot of guys that's making predictions during this game, for this game, rather. And, you know, my thought process as I look at who Jaden Delora is, he looks like a combination of Ward, the quarterback for Washington State, and Cameron Rising. He looks like a combination of both of those guys when I think about his abilities and what he could do. And like we both talked about, I mean, if we even actually look at his yardage on the year, 2,274 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 INTs, opposed to Caleb's yards, 1971, 19 touchdowns, 1 INT. So the guy, he got, now credit Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams we did have a bye week, so Caleb's going to catch up, you know, from that bye week as far as everybody else's yards. But Jaden Delora, I mean, this is a guy who's thrown for 2,200 yards. I mean, if you look at those numbers, his QBR is only like, it's 74.7 compared to like Caleb's 86.3. So his yardage is actually up there with everybody else's, you know, CJ Stroud and everybody else's. And he's just they're gonna sling that ball, man.
Yeah, you know they're gonna pose some threats. I mean, one of the things, the stat that jumped out to me the most is, you know, this team averages about 41 throws a game. They pass the ball about 41 times per game. Now, of those 41 times that they throw per game, they're only giving up about 1.6 sacks. That's their average. So that's letting me know that this dude is very, very tough to get to the ground.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those stats that it doesn't jump out at you as something special until you realize how many great defensive ends, defensive linemen, and linebackers he's making miss and creating second level opportunities with his ability to maneuver in the pocket and outside of the pocket. So it's a little bit worrisome knowing that our linebacker depth is a little bit challenged right now. That's something that I'm really, really focusing on, is the fact that we're going to have to play with a lot of backers that haven't had the same amount of game reps this season to deal with all those mobile quarterbacks. And so, you know, when a guy gets his first series of burn for the season, it's challenging to go against a mobile quarterback because you're playing your assignments as you know it, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with other factors with the quarterback's mobility. So I think that's going to be something we really need to look into, and then also hopefully our secondary can keep patience in the, you know, in coverage when with all these like extended plays where the play is extended beyond those 2 to 3 initial seconds, where it's like 5, 6, 7 second scrambles, and we don't give up any deep balls, explosive plays, you know? Absolutely.
So if we look at their last 3 games, and I'm going to try to get to some of these questions in between, but if we look at their all their games, rather, against Cal, they gave up 49 points. Against Mississippi State, they gave up 39. Against Washington, they gave up 49. Against Oregon, they gave up 49. And against North Dakota State, they gave up 28. Against Colorado, they gave up 20. So I know that we could, you know, we could throw up some points, some major points, and I guess it's just really getting ahead of the game. And as to your point, you did mention our linebacker play, you know, kind of being guys like Eric Gentry having that experience, and coincidentally, Eric Gentry leads our whole team with 48 tackles right now, 48 tackles. And crazy enough, their leading tackler is for sacks, rather, is Hunter Echols, who's a transfer from USC. But Eric Gentry, 48 tackles, and so we know that he's probably not going to be in this game. Lincoln said day to day, so you know we yet to see what that really means. But him and Addison both. But to have these new guys come in, and I mentioned Ray John yesterday in the video, they have to get acclimated to the system. I'm not sure if Randall Gopher is going to go. I'm not sure how Sean Lee with the club on his hand, if he's going to go. So in the event those guys don't go, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're
no, you're good.
Raylan Goforth, right? His younger
Yeah,
brother. Randall went to UCLA.
did I say Randall?
Yeah, Raylan. No, it's all good.
Did I
Yeah.
say one of my best friends used to train Randall when he was at UCLA? I said
Yeah.
Randall. I can't. Okay,
No,
my
it's all
fault.
good. It's all good.
I meant Raylan, but Raylan Goforth.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's gonna play, but with the club on Sean Lee's hand, I'm not sure how he's gonna get acclimated back into the game. So, what are your thoughts on Rajon coming in there and possibly Stevie?
Well, Rajon is a baller. I mean,
Yeah.
he really is. He can play. He can cover. He comes downhill. He fills the game, the lanes, and hits the gaps hard. It's just a matter of can he communicate and can he play within the system of this unit. I mean, as far as I'm aware of, most of his reps have been with the second and third units. So it's more so not about the actual individual that's on the field, but rather how they communicate and flow with the other 10 guys. That's the thing that I'm a little bit interested to see. I know that they're all capable. It doesn't matter who USC puts in there. The talent is there, all right? We've got enough talent and we have enough depth in terms of individual athletes to plug and play. The thing is do they mesh well? Do they blend well with the other guys that are out there? Can they get in sync with a unit that they haven't had a lot of reps in real game moments? That's more of the kind of enigmatic quality of what we have to do this week. Now I know CV, you can see that he came in and was able to make plays, right?
Yeah.
I know that in and of himself, Rajon can come in and make plays. But again, cohesively as a unit, one giant puzzle, can they all work well together without Eric Gentry being kind of that central nucleus that connects? To me, Gentry is the bridge that gaps the secondary to the D line. He connects that gap, right? And then you have a great run enforcer with Shane Lee, who's able to come and really, really create a little bit of physical turmoil. So I think CV can take on that Shane Lee type role of being a down stopper, and I do believe that Rajon can cover well in space. And then you got Raylan who's there. I'm hoping that Julian Simon can get back out there and do some things. He was always a great.
Yeah, we hadn't even seen him too much this year. I know they moved him to rush in. What's your thoughts on Solo? Maybe Solo.
I was just about to say, I think it's time to see Solo's emerges on the back stretch of this season. I know that we have some players who can ball. It's just a matter of how well they work within the dynamic of everyone else that is out there in those primary roles. So, yes, we have some depth. We have some guys that are a little banged up. And I think, again, just to echo some of the things and the points that I made the last time we did a game breakdown after Utah, and I don't want to bring up Utah, but I think what we're dealing with right now is the byproduct of very, very inconsistent refereeing. I mean, when you have guys that are beat up and banged up because they're trying to do too much more than they're supposed to because they're overcompensating from calls that are not going their way or that are going against them, or if they just feel like the game is getting a little bit lopsided out of their hand, you're going to have athletes who take responsibility for that and say, well, I got to make this play for us. I came here to be this type of star and this type of hero. And then you get athletes overextending, or you get drives that should have been out 7 plays, 9 plays, and now they're going on 14 to 16 plays. And that's where, humans we only have so much, energy for one set of efforts. You need to reload and regroup. And when you have those extended drives, like the officiating in the last game, it forced our players to stay out there too long. Now, that could be a gift and a curse in the sense that it's a gift in that, well, now we get to see what the rest of our squad looks like on both sides of the ball. Now we get to get more guys involved for this back stretch and this back push into the, Pac-12 championship game and then hopefully a playoff berth, right? And then, but then on the flip side, you get guys who we need for productivity are unavailable. So the game has many nuances. I just want everybody to recognize the game has many nuances. I'm not concerned with any of the abilities of our athletes. I just think that we have to use and make everything work for us and not against us, right? This is something that can work for us because now we get guys that get more reps. We have guys that who can get, lay their thumbprint on the game. Gentlemen who might have been a little bit unhappy with the level of reps and workload they were getting, now they get a chance to contribute, and that keeps the whole team happy and more whole, and it gives us an opportunity as a Trojan family to glimpse further into our future. We get a little bit of a crystal ball right now to see what else we got.
Yeah. And speaking and dealing with even talking about Rajon, and with this quarterback, I think his pass coverage, because Rayon's lateral movement sideline to sideline is probably faster than Sean Lee, Randall Goldberg. I'm not gonna say Eric Gentry. Eric Gentry, his length alone has just caused problems. But I think Rajon sideline to sideline is and the quarterback like Delore, I think maybe something that we might be kind of impressed with. I could be wrong, but I think that it will. I think he's a Solomon Bird that was one of those guys that was the fourth string, and he's somebody that can possibly emerge, man. What you think?
Are you referring to Rajon?
Yeah, Rajon. Yeah, he's kind of similar to Solomon Bird, how he was fourth string, and then he came out of nowhere once he got his opportunity. I think Rajon is that similar type of guy.
I agree. I think more so. He may be more so. He may be faster than Eric Gentry. I don't know that for a fact, but I just know that, at some point in his high school career, he was even being looked at as a safety, like a strong safety type.
Yeah.
And so whenever you got a guy and an athlete like that who can move laterally and cover in space, those are the types of things that we really want to see. That we want to see that level of hybrid style, like Sewell Cravens, Dion.
Yeah. Type. Exactly.
Even Hufanga from 2 seasons ago. Like, these are the types of players that we've been very, very fortunate to have in our secondary, who can also blend as backers, especially in like our nickel packages. I liken Max Williams to that type of a player, but he's doing such a great job at free safety that you can't deviate from where he already is. He's too productive, or strong safety, that is. So we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see if the decisiveness in that younger linebacker core is going to give us a similar or greater productivity level than the ones that we've been seeing most of the season. I think there are going to be a handful of busted coverages. It's just a natural byproduct of rotating new bodies in. What I'm feeling like is our defensive line are going to actually have a better, more collective day. I think Nick Figueroa playing that outside rush end, and then also with Tui being out there, I think that's going to really do some good for us, because both of those guys play force very well. Like, I rarely see too many plays extend outside of them when they have outside contain. When those guys have outside contain, I see that they're able to keep the quarterback in the pocket, but it's our interior play. Like, we got to get those dudes coming. Like, those dudes have to hunt a little more and be disruptive in the pass game. Like, we can't just allow the quarterback to just dance back there and read and pick away our secondary, who have to cover for 4 or 5 seconds. So I want to see our defensive linemen make a greater impact, and I would love to see our interior guys be more explosive with pushing the pocket and compressing that and forcing the quarterback to use his arms more than his legs. And I think that we can end up with 3 or 4 more interceptions in this type of a game if we can do that.
Absolutely. And I don't think necessarily our defensive backs have been a problem. Now passing that tight end on to the safety coming from, I guess, the linebacker or the cornerback has been a little bit of miscommunication. But as far as our outside coverage, I think there was some, Mekhi Blackman has been called for some crazy holds at times, which in my opinion was just good defense. If they were in another conference, they would have considered that lockdown cornerback play.
Absolutely.
But I think for the most part, Sierra Wright, Mekhi Blackman has been playing pretty much good man coverage. But as we alluded to earlier with the Utah game, the tight end position, we cannot allow that. We got to recognize early that the tight end's about to do something, man, and don't allow him to run free like that, man. What's your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right, because we put it on film. We put it on film that maybe a tight end and communicating those, however we decide to defend the tight end, we put that blueprint on film now. And so you have to know that whatever you put out there on film is absolutely what people are going to game plan against you. Now, it is my belief intrinsically that our coaching staff, especially from a defensive standpoint, they learn. We haven't had any evidence that they can't learn, right? And make the necessary adjustments. I even saw adjustments in the Utah game. I did. I saw adjustments on how they were playing the tight end. And
Right.
for the most part, I thought that the adjustments were correct. The execution maybe was a little bit limited by the fact that they were just not allowing us to play the tight end as physical. And when I say they, I mean the officiating. The officials weren't allowing us to play the tight end as physical as he was allowed to play against us. I was watching him run and body our defensive backs and body our linebackers and push off and create 6-7 yards of separation.
Mm-hmm.
When we put body on him, they were calling pass interference, or they were looking for reasons and opportunities to force our secondary guys not to play as physical as the game dictated.
Yeah.
And so if that's how the officials are going to be, that could be trouble for any secondary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Attacking core if it's more offensive oriented against our defense. But what I will say is I liked, for the most part, the way those guys were covering. Kincaid just had a phenomenal game. I've never in my whole life seen a tight end catch 100% of passes targeted to them. I've never seen it. I've never seen it once in my career. I've seen it unless it was 1 or 2 catches, right? But to be targeted over more than 10 times in a game and come down with 100%, he had 16 catches that game, 16 targets. That's pretty human. That's pretty superhuman. And so congratulations to him. He increased his draft stock. He had a wonderful career game, and that'll be the best game of his whole life, I believe. Now, I don't think that this particular tight end we're playing, McLaughlin, is that talented with regards to how well he catches the ball, but he can create some mismatches. He can create some fits. I just think that we're going to have that pretty sutured up. I think that they'll try the tight end early, and I think we'll defend it well, and they'll get away from it.
Yeah, man, I agree. I agree to that. And to your point, talking about the officiating, I'm going to read this comment. Coach Riley mentioned the bad officiating, game-changing 2 roughing the passer calls, and the loss of timeout due to ref error. How does USC handle this moving forward? How do we handle this moving forward when we essentially battling against the referees? I mean, I guess my mind is just we got to execute everything and leave no excuses for the refs. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. Leave no doubt. You can't control what the officials do. You never will be able to. I've said this once. I've said the officials are undefeated. They've never lost. They're undefeated. You can't beat them. And so when they decide to impact the game, you have to make certain that you've done everything in your control, so much so that whatever they decide to do to impact the game doesn't negatively hurt you to the point where the game is on the line. That means like you've got to dominate the game so much so early enough to where when the refs want to get involved, that it's not going to be so limiting to you that you get heartbroken like we did. Like that was devastating. That was a devastating, heartbreaking way to lose a football game based on very piss poor officiating that was so blatantly one-sided. It was so egregious that there are conference analysts who broke down this game who are saying, I cannot believe I'm blown away at the way that this game was officiated on both sides of the ball, but more so in the critical moments that impacted USC's outcome. And a game should never be determined and dictated by a call. Unless that call was so blatant, there's no way you can't call that call, right? Nothing happened in that game by USC's standpoint negatively that should have merited those roughing the passer causes in those critical moments, extending third downs, and nothing should have allowed for our players to feel like the game was out of their control to where they had to do extra and now hurt themselves. That's the truth.
Right. Here's another question here coming from Oscar. What's good, guys? What do you guys think? Do you think we have to blow out every team now to make an impression for the playoffs?
Yes, we do. And it's a known. What I'll say is I spoke to one of the players. I've spoken to a couple of the players, but one of them in person last week, and he so much as let me know. Our coaches are saying that now Yeah, we got work to do. So essentially, the statement comes into mind: what's understood doesn't have to be explained.
Right. And so moving on, we want to continue on Washington State, but we got so many questions uh kind of off Arizona. But thoughts on the Big Ten, questions and concerns. I think recruiting right now, I think we're doing okay, and I think we're getting ready to move stronger into the Big Ten. If you look at the Big Ten now, really, Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State are the only strong teams. Iowa's lost in the sauce. Wisconsin's lost in the sauce. Illinois is okay. I mean, you look at some of the Northwestern's lost in the sauce. You look at those teams right there. Maryland's just mediocre. So I don't think right now, if you look at the Big Ten this year, I think USC is looking real strong. If we would have played this year, I think we would essentially be a contender. That's just my opinion. Your opinion or thoughts on that, John, and we'll get back to Arizona.
Yeah, completely. I think that we would be in the top 3 of that league right now, very similar to where we are in the Pac-12. I believe personally the Pac-12 is a little bit more competitive than the Big Ten because of style matchups, with how the secondaries understand how to play spread offenses. I think that our type of offense will really work well in the big conference because of how we open up the field. It's not as condensed and it's not such a pound type of offense. So I think that we'll be playing against secondary and coverage teams that don't handle what we'll do well. That's my belief. I can't even broadcast that far into the future, but that's a great question, Warren. I like to play that what if game. Right now, my sole focus and emphasis is unpacking how we finish out this season strong enough on a national landscape that forces the media and the coaches and all of the voters to recognize that USC is actually an undefeated team. That USC has put up. We're in the top 10 statistically in most offensive categories, and we're in the top 30 in all the major categories in defense in the country, and that some of our players are getting overlooked because of West Coast bias and mostly the times that we play our games. So I'm focusing on hopefully allowing our players to have the platform and the landscape to continue to traject their careers and for USC to get the notoriety that it deserves in the country. Now just imagine we lost the game by 1 point. That took 15 penalties. 15 penalties, 7 of them completely, in my opinion, unjustified. 7 unjustified, right?
Right.
And we lost by 1 point to a very, very tough Utah team that I think can beat the top 90% of the countries in this teams in this country. Forgive me. And they dropped us, I don't know how many spots in the national polls. Right?
Yeah.
And now they're saying our potential playoff opportunities are done. So let other teams, let Ohio State lose a game. They're automatically still in the playoffs. Let Michigan lose a game. Automatically they're still in the playoffs. Let Alabama lose a game, which they did. They're automatically still in the playoffs. Georgia, automatically. Clemson, automatically still in the playoffs. USC loses a game by 1 point. They gone. No way. That's it. It's over for them. They can only hope to go to the Pac-12 championship, and we're going to figure out a 3-way tiebreaker to make sure that they don't get there. So it's one of these types of these narratives that's just it's challenging to overcome. But USC has a lot of hatred in the country. It always has historically, and they believe that the West Coast just produces a brand of football that is not for the true blue red, good old red blooded Americans who want to see smash mouth football. They think we're finesse. And so I care so much so that our team dominates the rest of this season in such a fashion that it becomes undeniable, like in Michigan. Like when I played in 2003, I want to say Herschel Dennis referenced this. Like we lost the game to Cal in triple overtime, right? And we lost that game, and they said we were done. They said it was over. We worked our butts off, and finally get back to a place where we start beating everybody so bad that by the end of the season, I think LSU was ranked number 1 in the BCS, And then the coaches were saying, hey, man, we can't deny what USC is doing. We have to put them number one. So BCS, the computers said we were like number 3 or 4 in the country, right? And the coaches in the human poll said, but we can see that the computer system is being a little biased towards SC. So if USC wins this Rose Bowl game, we will consider them a shared national champion contender or recipient with whoever wins LSU. And I think it was who'd they play that year? Ohio State again? I can't remember. It was LSU played somebody and they beat them. But I think this is a very similar type of thing. The season that we're having right now.
Right.
We have to win in a fashion that's so undeniable that when the humans have to really start to look over everything and they go, wow, you know what? That one loss that USC had was really kind of questionable. And they only lost by 1 point in the last season of the game. And it took all these other outside factors
to make it happen.
To make that game happen. Yeah. And they were away against a top-rated team in a really challenging environment. You know what? We might be able to, in our mind, eliminate that loss because Michigan or Ohio would have lost. Clemson most likely will have lost.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's going to be some upsets this week. Most definitely.
Would have lost. Alabama would have probably lost again. So by then, like USC needs to be in that conversation as long as we do.
Absolutely. If you remember in 2017, lost against Alabama, blowout win. Max Brown was in at quarterback and then ended up changing to Sam Darnold. And, man, they went on a crazy run, man. And I'm telling you, it was two teams that were they had 2 teams, I think, were the hottest teams at that time at the end of the season, which was Penn State and USC. They had Saquon Barkley, and then they had Chase McSorley as their quarterback. Those 2 teams ended up playing in the Rose Bowl, one of the most memorable Rose Bowl. USC with Juju Smith-Schuster, Adoree Jackson, Ahman Marshall, Sam Darnold. I mean, they one-loss team. They could have actually played for a national championship. That's how good they were. And a lot of people made reference to that team at the end of the season. I remember Kirk Herbstreit making reference. So I believe that we got the same type of team. And it's even – we didn't get blown out by anybody. And if you look at the media now, do you see how they're talking about – and I really believe with all my heart they're doing this for one reason. Do you see how they're talking about Oregon and they got blown out at the end, the first part of the season? Now they're talking about Oregon supposed to be this championship team that's going to make a run. The only reason they're doing this is because Bo Nix. I've never heard them. They're not – why are they talking about Bo Nix so much compared to Caleb Williams? They are a joke. And it's really driving me up a wall every time I listen to him talking. John, you've been hearing this madness, man? Yes, all of a sudden, Oregon is supposed to be, I mean, it's like, bro, they all lost in the sauce, John. They are absolutely just crazy. Speak to that, John.
Hey, brother. Oh, man. You know what? Listen, man. Bo Nix is from the SEC. So he's the savior of the Pac-12.
Oh, my God. The savior.
The only reason the Pac-12 is relevant is because of Bo Nix.
It's because of Bo Nix. That's how they're making it sound. I'm like, man, you got to get out of here. Why don't you talk about he got a better offensive line than he had at Sorry Auburn? How about that?
So look, I'm not going to throw shade. Bo is a baller, man. Bo can play some football now. I love these young men. I love these guys balling and doing what they got to do. But what I'm trying to say is, you guys have to look at really the truth. There's the truth. The truth is like SC is climbing an uphill battle that, man, oh man, most people don't understand. You just don't understand how challenging it is to get your roses here, man. And we just got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
I'm talking about to lose a game as close as we did and have one loss, and everybody in the country, all of the specialists are saying that there most likely will be 2 teams in the playoff that will have one loss. There will most likely be 2 teams in the college playoff have at least one loss. But USC's one loss ain't that there.
Nobody's making – it's funny. Nobody's making reference to out of all these one-loss teams, nobody's lost the way we lost by 1 point. And the referees help. But we're not in the mix. We're not in the conversation. But Oregon gets blown out by Georgia by 1,200 points, completely lost in Alfredo sauce, pecani sauce, sweet sour sauce, sriracha sauce. They lost in all the sauce. but here we are, not even in the mix. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Oregon got lost in the duck sauce, man.
I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, man, they. You know what? But you know they on that Aflac. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. Look, all we can do is control what we can control. I hope y'all out there laughing because USC today or not, bro. We be talking about this stuff every day. So look, the future is in our hands to a certain degree, right? To just get back on Arizona. I like Arizona. It's going to be a fun, competitive game. But here's the thing: Arizona scheduled us for their homecoming. This is Arizona's homecoming. So that should let everybody know the type of energy that they have right now.
Right.
Arizona scheduled USC as their homecoming game. You don't put nobody on your homecoming schedule
Exactly.
unless you really think you're about to smack them. So
hey, you remember what happened with Jackson State with Deion? Deion.
I saw that. That was bad, bro. The homie didn't even shake his hand. Yeah, that was wild. But look, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you about this. Arizona brought in Gronkowski. They brought in Gronkowski, right, to hype up the team and to talk about the rivalry of USC and to talk about the tradition of bear down versus fight on. And he got them boys riled up. And they believe that they can outscore us. They really do. They believe that we've shown enough on film to create a shootout and to exploit us. And so I don't want us as a USC body to fall in love with the future. We have to take care of the present. The past is gone, right? It's done. So it was Confucius that said, and I think they said it in Kung Fu Panda as well. But the past is history, the future is a mystery, and the present is a gift, right? And that's why it's called the present. So right now is a gift. This is the gift that we have, is to control our destiny today. From this practice on, all the way until we fly out there and go play in a very hostile environment. Because I played against Arizona at Arizona twice in my career, and each time it was a very competitive and rowdy game. Like they get after it, you know. They really that student body out there they love to play against the Trojans, especially at home. So we got to just take care of business. We got to get the game under control early so that we can preserve bodies and also put out the types of play calls that are going to force other defensive coordinators to really have to game plan a lot. I believe that is now going down the stretch. We need to, in my opinion, diversify some of our play calls to give them more things to think about and utilize our weapons more consistently. I think this is also going to be a breakthrough on special teams, right? And also, I think you're going to see some heroes emerge on defense that we haven't heard. And so,
right.
And so let's go. Yeah, Phil, you're right. So Washington State plays Utah tonight?
Yes, sir. Yep. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
Yeah. So that's all we can do is control ourselves, man. I don't want to fall asleep on what we have coming up. And this will be a sprint. UCLA lost, but you know what? They're still a great football team.
Yeah.
You know, I think Oregon and Utah is going to be a very deciding game for the season. And then I think Oregon also has to play Wazoo lost to Oregon already. Barely, right? Barely. Is that right, or am I making that up?
Say it one more time. I couldn't hear it.
Washington State, did they already lose to Oregon?
Yeah, they lost 44-41 to Oregon.
That was that really close game.
Yeah, that was that close game. Yep. So yeah, I think Utah, man. I think Utah may be a little lost in the sauce tonight. If I think it's at Washington State too, so they may be in a little bit of trouble. So moving on to Washington State. Well, moving on to Arizona. Pass defense, they're ranked 103rd in the country, allowing 325.3 yards per game, 325 yards per game. So that speaks to what we can do exactly as it relates to our passing. Caleb Williams can have a big game. I think he can move and groove. Their rush defense is 110th in the country, allowing 194.8 yards per game. So passing an offensive game, I think we should have a lot of success as it relates to that. What's your thoughts on that?
No, it's true. I mean, they're defensively, they're giving up 36 points a game, I think, and we're averaging slightly above that. So it aligns with what we do. Like we're able to outscore. We're score more than what they customarily give up. So I believe that we'll be able to put up points on their defense. I just know I know that they're going to have a great game plan. They were also on a bye week last week as well as us, so they've had a little bit of a head start in scouting and game planning. You know, they have Hunter Echols, who used to play for SC, so he could speak to some of the personnel that we have,
right,
tendencies that we have against the offensive line. And I know that, you know, those guys are going to use everything that they have. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at us, you know, and it's just the truth. I want to see us play with a certain level of energy and composure that lets them know that we're completely unscathed and unfazed by the outcome from last week, and that we recognize that we still have, like, everything is still in our hands. We're still in the driver's seat, and we can control the destiny of this voyage that we're on. It's just a matter of Caleb doing what he did last week, and then I think maybe not searching for the home run as much. You don't need it when you got guys who have great yards after catch like Taj Washington, Brendan Rice, you know, Williams,
Michael Jackson.
And Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Right? And Kyle Ford, who's now, I think, finally healthy. You got both Williams, CJ Williams and Mario, right? So we got guys who really, really don't need deep ball threats. You can give them a 10-yard route and they can turn it into 40 yards. And so I think as long as we recognize that we have yak athletes, we don't have to force balls and have those weird early third and long situations where we're throwing the ball deep on first and second, and then it's 3rd and 10, and now we're behind the chains. So let's take what they give us and allow our athletes to do what they do in space. We're the more conditioned athletes. We've been proving that game after game, and we have the greater athletes overall, especially from a receiver skill set. And I think Austin Jones is about to get back in the mix, and I think Ralik's going to get off again.
Absolutely. Let me get to this question, because we got several questions always kind of coming through, so I don't want to miss some of them, but I'll let you speak to this one. Will Foreman transfer, or realize simply that he's next up after a large part of the roster will need starters as prepared for the Big Ten?
Only that young man knows where his heart is. Only that young man knows where he wants to be. If it is his destiny to continue to be in the Cardinal and Gold, then I believe that he's still going to have a successful career. He's only a sophomore. Like, you guys, he's a sophomore, a true sophomore. He never redshirted, and he came out early. So he's a young sophomore. Like, he started high school or college at 17 years old, right at 18. That's very young when most of these athletes are being held back. Most of them are double holdbacks. So they start college 19 years old, and they're 20 by the middle of their freshman year. You got to realize that's what's happening in this generation. He's still young. He's still developing. He's still understanding what is required to be dominant at this level. He has all of the tools and intangibles. So if Corey Foreman does decide to leave, the same things that he's dealing with now are going to be with him until he matures to the point where he can get past that one COVID year where he lost football for a whole year. Like, there's a lot of dynamics that go into, like, what a young developing athlete needs. This is his first year of college football, because really his senior year of high school was his freshman year at USC. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Right. So this is his first year of actually real full college football. But if you combine the little reps that he got last year with this year, this is one season. Going into this next fall camp, and the season's not over yet, this guy could finish this season with 6 or 7 sacks still, because we still need him. And I do believe that he's seen enough game speed, game film, and been coached enough to understand, like, okay, this is what's required. This is what's needed.
Absolutely.
This is where I can.
Absolutely.
And you guys got to know that you can't judge an athlete one game at a time. It's the whole.
Right.
It's the whole body of work. If I was judged one game at a time, everybody would have wrote me off in that Notre Dame Bush Push game when I gave up 2 pass interference calls in critical moments. Brady Quinn threw that ball super high. I was covering Jeff Samardzija and Maurice Stovall. I had a fever of 104, the temperature 104 with food poisoning from Thursday all the way through Sunday. And I left that game with IVs in my arm, and they carted me into the airport. I didn't even get to ride with the team. I had IVs and they carted because I was so sick. But guess what? Coach Carroll said, Jaywalk, you've been waiting your whole career for this game, for this moment, to be a starter in this moment. I can pull you right now. But you are from Chicago, and you know very well Michael Jordan had a sick game. You remember that? He goes, you told me that Michael Jordan was your hero when you were younger. I said, yes, sir. Michael Jordan and Jerry Rice. Yes, coach. Yes, coach. He goes, can you continue to fight? And I looked him in his eyes and I said, yes, coach. He had our equipment guys put a dark smoke visor on my face so they couldn't see how sick my eyes looked because I was barely out there like this. And at that time, we had 2 other freshman cornerbacks. It was Kerry Harris and Kevin Thomas, Keto. I think Kevin Thomas, right? And they were young. They weren't ready for that battle yet, right? So coach said, we need you. Now, had I been judged off the productivity of that game,
right.
The office said, man, you Jaywalk, you're not cut out for this, right? But look at the whole body of work all season long, everything that. Then you go, okay, man, that guy was a well-rounded competitor. He just needed time to continue to build into himself. That's how Corey's a well-rounded athlete.
Right.
Who can do anything. Guys, I guarantee you, if you guys would edify him more, encourage him more in his comments, reach out to him and let him know we love you.
Yeah.
We stand with you. Stop pointing fingers, putting this young man under a microscope. Yes, he signed up for this, but at the same time, name anybody that can do really well consistently under scrutiny, under duress, under judgment. Name anybody who performs very well consistently. I don't know. And I can say the same of many athletes on our squad. But I guarantee you, if you change the dynamic and just let them know how much you appreciate and cherish them, you'll see a different type of motor turn on for a young man like that.
Man, that's good. That's good. And coincidentally, Hunter Echols, who was behind Corey last year, transfers, and he's leading Arizona with 4 sacks. So, Corey could emerge and do the same thing. So I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that. Keith says, did you guys notice during the player interviews on Wednesdays that a lot of people were talking about making runs? I think even making a run. I think even one of the coaches made reference to that as well. Look, I think these guys are hot right now for what happened against the Utah during the Utah game. And I think you're going to see a fired up team. I think everybody felt like the game was stolen. That doesn't make any excuse for why the tight end was running all over the place, but things were altered. Things happened the way they happened. And so as Keith is alluding to, yeah, a lot of people talking about, look, we're about to make this run because they know they should not have lost that game. Well, what you think, John? Did you see that at all?
That's absolutely right. And even Caleb, even our QB said it. He said, hey, he was talking to one of the assistant coaches who pulled him aside and said, hey, look, you cannot have a good story without a little test. He said it in a post-practice interview. He said the coach pulled him aside and he said, look, man, essentially it's like you can't have a strong testimony without a big test that you learn and overcome. And you cannot have a good story in general without some adversity. Every hero must endure adversity for that hero to learn about bravery and about fortitude and about what it takes to step into that position of excellence. You can't name it. It's hard to love people when all they do is win, 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 win. Eventually, you find ways to vilify them. You find ways to hate them because they're so successful, right? You just hate it when somebody wins all the time. It's boring to you, right? And that's why maybe so many people don't like Alabama nowadays. Is because you see Nick Saban win, 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 win. Even if it, however he's won it, some people now will find ways to not like him or not like Tom Brady or not like all the people who have a storied tradition of winning, not like LeBron James because they win too much. You just get mad at it, right? So I think Caleb goes, okay, so for me to be the true hero and for us to have that hero story, we really do need to endure a challenge that says that we had an opportunity to overcome something, and we learned from this, and now this allows us to feel far more proud and take more ownership of what we're trying to accomplish. So I agree with that.
Absolutely. I want to answer well, speak to this. Michael Jackson going to moonwalk. Michael Jackson going to moonwalk over the secondary. Let me just speak to this real quick, because like Solomon Byrd, I seen something different in Solomon Byrd when he was out there on the field, when he didn't have the full-time play. I seen some attributes, man, within this guy. And I'm gonna tell you something. It was just one play, and it was just the catch up the middle. And Michael Jackson, that step, I just seen. I don't know. You can call me crazy, but I seen Addison-like ability. I mean, maybe it's just me, but he looked special, man, with that step and how he broke. In that Utah game, that was an important touchdown for him to just be sidelined all this time, hadn't played, and come in like that and look like that. Do you see something special with him?
Oh, I always have. I saw it in high school as well. But look, here's the thing. Again, he was injured. He was injured a lot of camp.
Right.
People don't know that. He was hurt. And also, he's one of those types of guys that, like, hey, man, our depth is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, our depth is pretty special, and anybody in that receiver room that gets the ball in their hands is capable of completely taking over a game in any given moment. It's just a matter of who's going to get the ball and who's going to get the call, because it's not like there's no drop off in our receiver core. There just isn't. There's just different skill sets.
Right.
There's Yep.
Let me answer this. To this question, I kind of don't think that Oregon's going to win every game, but Oscar says we should be rooting for Oregon the rest of the season. Look, I think they still got to play Utah. They have to play Oregon State, and there's one more team. It's out of 3 games. I just don't see Oregon winning all those games. The next 3 games. Should we be rooting for them? I think possibly so, because they're ranked high, and if we went out, we'll face a high team. But I don't see Oregon going undefeated. I just don't see it. Oregon State, Utah, and it's one more team. I can't remember. I think it's Washington. It may be Washington.
Uh-huh.
Those 3 teams. Do you see Oregon losing one of those?
I believe that they can win them all. But the closest one is they don't call it the Civil War anymore, right?
Right.
Oregon State. I think that's going to be their most competitive out of the bunch. Because they still have Utah, right?
They have Utah, Oregon State, and I think it's Washington.
I think that they will actually handily deal with Utah. That's my opinion. I don't see Utah out racing them. I don't see Utah having the level of success that they had against us. I don't believe that they'll do that against Oregon. And I also think Oregon can move around and do some things because they play Oregon at home. Oregon's at home against Utah. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
Utah has a decisive advantage in a lot of ways when they play at home. They're not the same team on the road. Yeah.
So moving forward, as we get ready to shut it down here, we're going to get a prediction here, and USC's an 88.7% chance to win this game. Like I said, they're 15-point favorite at Arizona, and we're facing a quarterback that's going to sling the ball, man. 2,274 yards on the season, 19 touchdowns, 7 INTs. So Jaden Delores, a quarterback that's going to throw the ball. So we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's. And so, John, you can give your prediction. I give mine. What do you think as relates to the score is going to be with this game?
I think 48-26.
48. All right.
48-21-26, something like that. Yep.
48-26.
Possibly.
I'm gonna go with 41-21.
Okay.
I'm gonna say they got us up by 2 scores. I'm gonna say we're gonna get it by 3 scores, 41-21. USC. I think we'll be able to seal this deal. I think we're gonna face a determined team. To that comment, I think we're gonna face a team that's just hot right now, ready to get this thing back in business. And I think we're gonna win this game.
I definitely do. I definitely do. And also I think that we'll do it in a decisive fashion. And I believe overall the entire narrative of our team, we're about to start to write our own story, write our own script. I really truly believe that our players are going to start speaking the language that the rest of the country needs to recognize. And that's one of the things I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for them to start to, in their own way, shine light on the fact that they feel disrespected. They feel disrespected by the national polls. They feel disrespected by the audacity for some of these analysts and the officiating in the Pac-12 to actually undermine the pilgrimage that they're on, because it does not behoove the Pac-12 to allow USC to dominate. It doesn't.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Right.
And if you guys understand real business and how that's a bad look for business, to have your champion, your best team walk away from your conference, be like, deuces, we out. We're taking all this national brand, these great athletes, all the money that comes from the games and everything that we bring in, bolster into this league, and we're taking it and inserting it into a place where we feel more more welcome than accommodated and a part of a better national picture. That's a slap in the face. And the fact that USC has had so many night games, it's a true testament to why the Pac-12 hates USC. Secretly, you do not put your primary teams in nighttime slots where the other half of the country are not going to watch those games.
Absolutely.
Pac-12 after dark is a joke.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
Straight joke.
We've had 3 games at home in LA all start at 7 p.m. already. And we have one more. I think Cal is another 7 p.m. game. That is specific to scheduling that works against you being in the national spotlight.
Yeah.
That's exactly why that's done, guys. Just so you understand. Well, we're going to make sure that your game is aired during a time where everybody from darn Utah to the rest of the country is asleep.
Absolutely.
It's crazy to me.
It's crazy. It's a complete setup. I never you see it seems to be intentional this year more than any year. It's very intentional right now, and it's just crazy.
How can you play every single home game with the exception of 2 games so far has been at 7 p.m. And then even Utah was super late, and that was prime time. That was a prime time game.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, man.
How crazy is that? And then you talk about East Coast recruits on the East Coast. You know, I mean, they might be getting ready to say their prayers. Now let me down to sleep. I pray, Lord, my soul to keep. You know, I mean, like, man, how in the world? You know, it's so. This is what we're dealing with, man. We fight an uphill battle until I can't remember who made a point. Should we blow out every team? Absolutely, we should blow out every team. We got to make a statement. We can't leave it in we can't leave it in the refs' hands. We can't leave it in any of these major networks' hands. We got to make sure we're putting it in our own hands and making it happen, man. So you guys, and John, any last words before we get out of here?
Man, much love to you guys. Sincerely from my heart, fight on. This is a labor of love, and I do think that we're on the real precipice of creating a community here where we're really just authentic about what we're trying to do, and I hope that you guys don't think that we're super biased. Obviously, we lean towards USC. This is what we are. We are SC, but we do give fair analysis and breakdown of the other teams. I don't discredit any athletes. You know, I was recruited by a lot of schools, and I could have seen myself wearing many different uniforms when I was playing in college or coming out to play in college. But the fact is, I chose USC because I believe that's what God called my heart to do. I believe from the bottom of my heart that that's where I was supposed to get my education. You know, we were 6-6. We weren't a good team when I went to USC. I never
great point. Great point.
I never foresaw national championships in our future. I never foresaw that. It was just God's love, and I'm a product of that, of God's love and His grace and some great coaching, some exponential coaching, and some beautiful teammates. who you guys know, and most of them are dang near in the Hall of Fame now. But what I'm saying is, when we're talking about these people, I don't want you guys to ever feel as though we have anything against anyone, even the officials. I don't have anything against the officials. Clearly their job is hard. I just know from experience that there are agendas. There are a lot of strings being pulled. There's a lot of puppeteering going on. And if you really knew the business side of this, you know, it doesn't suit a brand, any brand, to promote something that is against it. And so what I'm telling you is, you know, you can just think about what's happening in our media world with certain, you know, influential characters speaking racist remarks and anti-Semitic remarks, and look at how all the brands are dropping them, and look at how people are disconnecting from them and saying, I want no more affiliation with them. I'm not going to really get into details, but like, if you guys are up into popular culture, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you can understand how much gets done behind the scenes. And so the way USC wins out is if they decisively handle business and not allow it to be a coin toss in any way. They have to dominate so bad that it's just like, man, they're up by 17 points in the, you know, in the first quarter, and they just keep rolling from there and keep building. There's no way we allow teams to just be close enough to where, okay, maybe now we can influence this game and mess with this outcome a little bit. Because if it's there at all, it'll be manipulated.
Right. Absolutely.
If there's any room for it, it'll be manipulated. So there's no need for us to complain about it anymore. It's something that we just have to understand and recognize. And then we just got to recognize if we're giants and USC is a giant brand, man, you know, it's all small to a giant. We got to take care of what we got to take care of, and make sure that we continue this community that we're building. Let's keep growing this thing, and leave USCJ your suggestions on how you think this can continue to grow, how we can add more value to this community, and give us the insights that you guys really feel, because I think you got to know that your voice is very welcomed here. You know?
Absolutely. And so, look, we appreciate everybody for tapping in, man. And listen, we're expecting a big commitment tonight, 5:30, and we're gonna see what Mr. David Peavy, what exactly, which direction he's gonna swing tonight. So you guys look for that, and you guys know I'm coming back. If hold on a second, how about more likes here? Oh, amen, brother Phil. Hey, so look, so we'll see exactly what Mr. David Peavy is going to do tonight, and you guys know I'll come back. So look, until then, we appreciate you guys, man, and tomorrow as well, you guys know I'm coming. Until next time, listen, everybody continue to fight on.